gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October the 11th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And we have a lot to talk about today because yesterday we had the opportunity to talk to Mario Cristobal and offensive coordinators Josh Gaddis and Kevin Steele. And it gave us a chance to address every issue facing this football team right now on this 3-game losing streak as they prepare to go to Virginia Tech this week and kind of right the things that have been spiraling out of control here that have really compromised the entire season in a very quick period of time. In fact, Matt Shodell, we're talking to Kevin Steele, and he finished with, and then he kind of looked at the date on his watch. He's like, guys, I can't. It's already middle October. Like, where has this season gone? It has all happened so fast. I mean, we're sitting here one football game on Saturday away from reaching the midway point of the season. And it has gone fast, too fast for the Miami Hurricanes, who have had all kinds of little issues come up that are impeding their effort to win the game. And so, Matt, when I look at this, honestly, and people are going to accuse me right now of making excuses or whatever, but they're sitting at 2-3, and I feel that they have been better than 2-3. It's been a handful of plays in each of these 3 games that have derailed the season to this point. They're not out of the coastal race yet. They're going to need some help. North Carolina is going to have to lose twice, and Miami would have to win every game. Which look, they have to go to Clemson. The odds aren't great. Like right now, they're playing for bowl game positioning in most likelihood, but. You look at Texas A&M, you had the Tyreek Stevenson muff punt, you had a couple missed field goals, a couple drop balls and stuff along the way, and boom, they lose that game. Middle Tennessee State absolutely did not show up. We could talk for hours about why, make excuses. The bottom line is they didn't show up. They got beat soundly by a very bad football team. North Carolina, I thought they were back. They came to play. I thought they played hard the whole game, just could not get out of their own way again. They spent 2 weeks working on pass defense against the deep ball, and what happens? North Carolina hits 2 deep balls in the first half to get 2 touchdowns. One went for a touchdown, one led to a touchdown. That's 14 points that Miami essentially gifted North Carolina, and you're not overcoming that against a decent team. These coastal games and ACC games are going into the fourth quarter almost every single time. This Saturday at Blacksburg might not be any different. And you do not have, with this football team at the talent level that it's at, a margin of error to do things like blow coverages, which is what they did. And the amazing thing about it, not to throw anyone under the bus, because you feel bad for them, but it was the probably best defensive back, a very smart defensive back that made those errors that led to the 2 scores. I mean, it is unbelievable. If you are the coaches and they are taking the blame themselves, but they have to be looking at each other just like absolutely out of their minds because they're feeling the wrath and they're feeling the pressure. And yes, the season has spiraled in the wrong direction, and it's up to them to do something about it. So, Matt, I think I've spoken long enough. So let's get your opinions, at least on that subject, and then we'll touch on some of the other things that came up.
I mean, I don't need to talk about the game, but what bothered me most about yesterday, and I addressed this a while back. I thought it would have behooved, to use a Gary Ferman word from the 1920s that he liked to use back then. It would have behooved Mario Cristobal to sort of, and maybe he didn't understand this at the time, but to sort of let the fan base know, and I touched on it yesterday also as well as a while ago, that this team wasn't ready to win right away. I think for whatever reason, Mario maybe thought they were. I mean, as you look at it now, it just seems so obvious that this team wasn't going to win 9 or 10 games. There was holes all over the roster. You could try to fill it with some transfer additions here and there, but for the most part, even when these guys came in, like when they take Antonio Moultrie, even you and I were like, it seemed desperation time. The guy was a linebacker at UAB. They're making him a defensive tackle. I mean, even just saying that sentence makes you think a little bit of panic maybe. And so what bothered me yesterday was it really was the first time that Mario Cristobal finally basically told the fan base that our team's not real good. He said, we're not physical. He said, we don't have a physical team. We don't have a deep roster. This is part of the growing process, And I really wish he had told fans that before the season, because it would have behooved him with the fan base to sort of come clean with that and not have people have these expectations that he's here, everyone's getting paid, Tyler Van Dyke's here, they're bringing these amazing transfers, we're going to win 10 games, the Coastal's awful. I think there's been such I hate to say backlash, because really every coach is a new coach. They get a grace period. But I've been surprised at how much of a backlash there has been against Josh Gaddis, against Tyler Van Dyke, even to some extent against Mario, because these are his guys that he brought in and that he hired as coaches, brought in as players, coached them up for 9 months, and this is the result you get in the field. So I think that's part of the reason why, fans, obviously you don't expect to lose to Middle Tennessee, but that's why fans are booing. This is not the product we were told we were going to get. And obviously yesterday, Mario Cristobal said, well, this is the product we have. And I don't know if he didn't know it earlier. I mean, I sort of felt it earlier watching the practices, and I've talked about that on the show a lot, and people called me Negative Nancy, Negative Nelly. What am I talking about? The team's going to be great. I really think it backfired, just the fact that the expectations were ratcheted so high, in part because he didn't say until yesterday that, this team's not real physical, this team's not real good. And you would think he would know that from practice, right? And now your top two receivers are Frank Ladson and Colby Young, two guys who the coaches apparently didn't even recognize had any talent at all because they weren't even playing the first 3 games. You add it all up, and it's a little troubling. But again, 2 to 4 year rebuild. I think it happens. I think this is a playoff team down the road. There's a lot of talent he'll bring in. Recruiting is his forte, okay? If people want to criticize Mario, it's for his game day coaching. Certainly not practice coaching. Certainly not work ethic. Certainly not recruiting. And that's what builds this program. What will build this program is recruiting, work ethic, coaching on the practice field. You can get away with a few calling a timeout when you shouldn't have and going for it on a 4th down when you shouldn't from midfield, when your talent level is just that much better than everybody else, which it will get to.
Get away with more of it, yeah. I didn't totally take the same thing away that you did. I think what he was really trying to say is, look, we have some issues, and we're not a strong enough team, and our games are going to be close. We are not going to be blowing many of these teams out. We're going to have a lot of close games this year, and that's just the way it is. And I think that's pretty accurate. But I don't think that the expectations were overinflated. I think we're playing the result a little bit there, because they could have won all these games, Matt. Like they outplayed Texas A&M to a large degree. They outplayed North Carolina to a large degree. The Middle Tennessee game was a joke. Like, that shouldn't have never happened. It did. I mean, it's not going away. It was a debacle that will live in infamy, no doubt about it. But like, there's no reason that this couldn't be a 4-1 football team right now, figuring that things even out, as opposed to 2-3. They just have beaten themselves in every game pretty much. I mean, you spotted even Middle Tennessee, you spotted them 38 points. Come on, man. It's like Tyreek Stevenson can't drop that punt at College Station. That can't happen. You're on the road in a night game against a decent SEC team. That just can't happen, that kind of stuff. Andres Borregales has missed 3 field goals that, you have a reasonable expectation that he is going to make. So I'm not making any apologies for any expectations that anybody had for, or tried to set for this team. I obviously see all the challenges, but even with those challenges, I don't feel they are outclassed in any one of these games that they've already played. And I don't think they'll be outclassed in any of them that they will play in the future, including at Clemson, But obviously, when they go to Clemson, they are going to have to play a pretty close to perfect football game to be in that one in the fourth quarter and have a chance to win. And it'll be interesting to see how this team progresses. I mean, we are seeing advancement, Matt. I mean, like you said, Colby Young came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he looks like Michael Irvin over there on a couple plays late in the game. I mean, where did that come from? That was totally unexpected. I think we've seen Tyler Van Dyke back to looking the way he is known for in the last game. I think that was a positive step forward. The running backs are all banged up, but Jaleel Skinner it seems to be making forward progress. He needs to work on his hands, no doubt. He should be spending his life when he's not in class or at practice. He should be spending his life at the indoor practice facility on the jugs machine, improving his hands. At receiver, Latson's playing better. Colby Young is emerging. So, that's just the offensive side of the ball. We could talk about defense too in a minute, but the point I'm making is this is not all negativity, everybody. And the losing makes people negative. It makes people angry. It throws things out of whack. But everything is not negative in this program once you peel back the top layer of the onion and get past the disappointments. Your thoughts, Matt? I don't think it's all negative.
I mean, I see your lips moving and I hear your voice in my ears, but it's not making sense. I mean, could have won these games if not for this or that. That's what every team has happened. If only we didn't give up 3 plays of 70 or more yards, we would have won by 1 point. If only we didn't do this. If our top cornerback hadn't blown all these coverages, we would have won by 2 points.
Wait, let me put it to you this way.
Let me tell you something, okay? Excuses are for people who have a lot of flatulence, and you have a lot of flatulence, Gary Ferman, okay? This is not a real good team, even if you won those games by 1 point. I'm sorry. I want a team that he will build that's top NFL talent ready. I don't want teams, like you're saying, don't end players' careers. They're all late round draft picks or free agents. All the guys you're
entitled to be late round draft picks. That's what they come to college for, to develop into late round draft picks, if that's their ceiling. But at least they get a chance. I mean, how many former Canes that got drafted in late round are still in the NFL? There's several of them.
Mario wants to build a team that's like Alabama and Ohio State, where you get 3, 4, 5 first and second rounders every cycle. I mean, that's how you get recruits to keep coming. That's how you're not rebuilding every 4 to 5 years to become a good team once every 4 years, like some of these programs are. And he knows what it takes. He's been at Alabama.
Course, but he hasn't even completed his own first recruiting.
Correct, which is why I think it was a disservice that he didn't just tell fans, like I said yesterday, here's my 4-year plan, everybody. We know what we inherited. It's not real good. We're going to try our hardest, but we're going to give some young guys chances. We promise that within 2 to 4 years, you'll be a playoff team.
Oh, hey, come back in 4 years. That's going to take me 4 years. Yeah, I mean, he inherited a 4-win team at Oregon, and 2 years later, they were winning the Rose Bowl. I mean,
you're underestimating fans. Fans
know. Man, you can't do that. You can't
fans get angry when they're lied to. And fans feel like they were given a product that they were promised one thing and they got something else. No. People are saying they're not renewing their season tickets because of that, Gary. And you could shake your head all you want, but that's the facts, man. And I, if I take off my reporter hat, which is a very, very small hat, and if I put on my fan hat, I would appreciate if Mario said, listen, guys, here's where we're at. We will be a national championship team in X number of years. I am sleeping 1.5 hours a night with one eye open in case Gary Ferman crawls in my window to try and look at the playbook. And I will do whatever it takes in order to get us there. Fans understand. This team hasn't been anything in 20 years, man.
I know, but no coach is going to say, hey, come see me in 4 years and I'll have this thing done. No, man.
Let me ask you something, Gary. In the last 11 years, how many times has Miami lost 2 or more games in a row in out of those 11 years in that season?
Several. I don't have a count.
All 11.
11? Yeah, I believe.
All 11. They've lost not 2 games in a season. They've lost 2 or more games all 11 years. And in 8 of those years, they've lost 3 or more games in a row. Not in a season, in a row. This is not a program Mario took over that people should be like, oh my gosh, Mario's here, everything's fixed. They should have understood, but he didn't tell them. Some people need to hear it. Nah. And he never said it until yesterday. Yesterday is too late. Yesterday is too late.
Nah. No coach worth anything is going to say that They're going out there trying to win every game. That's what he's paid for. That's what he's trying to do.
No coach will say, I will have a championship here in 3 to 4 years. Like, you can't say that because God forbid. What? What's he going to say? We're winning a national championship this year? We asked players their goals. When we asked players their goals in the preseason, it was pretty obvious what he told them because they said, we can't discuss our goals. We don't have any goals. It used to be, we're winning a national title. They knew, the players knew they weren't winning a title.
One play at a time.
They weren't going to say, we're trying to win 9 games and maybe get a coastal championship and lose in the ACC title game.
Like that. You take one play at a time and you try to win as many games as you can. Now, let me put it this way. Let me try to repackage my point a little bit to you. All right. So when have you ever, would you agree with me that Miami lost the last 2 games ultimately because they gave up 6 free touchdowns from deep passes?
Well, no, because the offense could have kept up, if they were functioning on all cylinders. But that was a big part of it, of course.
But in reality, they spotted Middle Tennessee 28 points defensively and 10 offensively, 38 points. That was going to be hard to overcome.
It's funny. It makes me crazy when people say like what you're saying. Because there's always another side. Like, Mario gave up the timeout. Mario shouldn't have gone 4th down. Well, guess what? North Carolina went for a 4th down from the Miami 4th.
That's why you don't hear me saying that.
If you weren't covering North Carolina right now, you'd say, look at the 6 mistakes that North Carolina made. If they lost, and you're a North Carolina reporter, Gary, you could point to 5 or 6 stupid things North Carolina did.
I know.
You just happen to be picking on the things that Miami did because that's what we
cover. But I agree with you. They evened out. I totally agree with you. But this didn't even out, okay? Now, you've been covering football now, at least with CaneSport, 20-something years. When have we ever, forget about 6 of those in 2 games. When have we ever seen 6 of those in an entire season? I mean, think about what we just witnessed in a span of 2 weeks. 6 deep balls where coverage broke down from a secondary that a lot of people came into the season thinking was going to be pretty darn good.
Well,
we got Avante, we got James, we got Cam. With our safeties are going to be one of the best safety groups in the country. Look.
This is honestly, Kevin Steele takes the blame, and he should, because look, I understand the 1 touchdown by Tyreek wasn't Kevin Steele's fault. That was just a brain fart by Cam Kinchens. But the other 5, I think there was 2 of them. Here's the problem I'm having. They think DJ Ivey is so great from practice. They don't recognize from games, oh my gosh, his brain blows up in a game. He gives up 2 of those long ones. They bring in Jaden Harris for a play.
North Carolina didn't do anything against DJ Ivey last week.
Great. They bring in Jaden.
And he was pretty good at Texas A&M.
I'm talking about the 7 plays that they gave up.
No, I understand, but he was pretty good at Texas A&M too. They put him in a bad situation in Middle Tennessee.
So Corey Couch gets hurt. They bring in Jaden Harris. They don't help him over the top. He gives up a 68-yard touchdown. These are things that a defensive coordinator of Kevin Steele's, background. He started coaching in 1980, Gary. You were 48 years old in 1980, okay? So you should know how long ago that was. He's been coaching forever. Like, he should know better. When he takes the blame, he should take the blame. I understand Cam Kinchens screwed up one of the plays, but the other ones to me were on him. He keeps going single man-to-man coverage down the field with a banged-up cornerback, Tyreek, with other guys who can't cover DJ Ivey.
Plus, Matt, Tyreek wasn't supposed to be in man coverage all over.
The one play, I'm talking about prior to that. The one play, I said, take that one out of the 7. The other 6 I'm talking about.
The second long one was the same thing. He wasn't
Middle Tennessee, he never adjusted. He just kept on doing one-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. He didn't say, oh, wow, look how fast those 2 receivers are. Maybe they need help over the top. Like, he just didn't adjust. And he did adjust against North Carolina, which was great. I don't understand how you make the adjustments against North Carolina and add the extra rusher and recognize what you needed to do, and then you don't make the adjustments the prior 3 games. Like, I don't understand what he was thinking. But I'm not a coordinator, and I think he's super smart. He knows what he's doing, but I don't understand why you keep doing the same thing against Middle Tennessee.
He's struggling with this personnel. He's struggling figuring out what to do with this personnel. There's no doubt about it. He is a good coach. He's been a good coach for a long time. But he is struggling a little bit with this personnel, and they think they've got to fix. But the point I was really making was it was an aberration, man. Not an aberration, but it was like a fluky thing. Like, you never see. Like I said this the other day, Miami's had the greatest receivers in college football for decades. We've never seen a Miami team do 6 bombs like that in 2 games. Like, it just doesn't happen. But it's happened this year to this football team, and that is why they lost. I don't feel everything's negative. I'm hoping that this progress that we're seeing with players developing a little bit continues, and they have an opportunity these next few weeks, if they play good football, to win at least 3 games in a row and get back into the season a little bit, get on the cusp of bowl eligibility, start.
They're going to go to a bowl game. I mean, if they don't go to a
I
bowl
wouldn't
game,
take anything for granted here. No, they can't take any game for granted.
Listen, they're not. This is not a team that's going to give up on Mario Cristobal. I think part of the issue is this: Mario doesn't understand how to take his foot off the gas, and I think the guys are just like they were just beaten down physically and mentally, which is understandable. But they're still so much better than these next 3 teams. This team Miami would literally have to lay down and just basically tell Mario to F off if they lose even one of these next 3 games. That would be like such a bad sign for the future. I can't even imagine it. They will win these next 3 games, Gary. I have zero concerns. Middle Tennessee was a one-off. They played better against North Carolina, even though North Carolina's not real good. But these next 3 teams are just bad. If Miami even plays not half, but if Miami plays as well as it did against North Carolina, they win all 3 of those games hands down.
I agree.
Easily win.
And then you get into the Florida State, Clemson, Georgia Tech is another team they should beat. But you got to go to the play. Georgia Tech went to Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh. Like you can't mail it in.
It's a surprise how bad Pittsburgh is, right?
Yeah. Well, but they're really not. They're just all these teams are the same. You can't mail it in against any of them. They obviously can't mail it in themselves. But Miami's got to rally the troops here and finish the season strong and build momentum. Recruiting is hanging in there. It looks like.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, these recruits, the way that Mario. I mean, if you want a silver lining. Mario's recruiting, you can just see how good it is because these guys aren't even having remote second thoughts, the commitments, and if they get the NIL deals in place that they need to get in place, they'll be getting even, some more top prospects. I mean, that's how you solve all these problems. It's all recruiting, and he's the best at it. He really is. Tireless, builds great bonds with guys, doesn't lie to them, tells the truth. I mean, recruits love Mario, love this staff. And, that's the silver lining. I mean, on the field, you can use whatever adjective, you want that rhymes with doo-doo. And in recruiting, you just have to be, the sky's the limit almost, there literally, because there is no limit to the number of recruits or transfers that Mario can take this year. He could take 85 new players. If this team lies down in these next 3 games, I think he should get rid of every single player. Take 85 recruits. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, he could. That's allowed now. That's allowed this year.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been asking about Colby Young. Where's he been? Where did this come from? He was the highest rated offensive player on the team, highest graded in the North Carolina game. And, a couple of things. I think, Colby Young got here late. That was the first thing that happened. And then he was nicked up a little bit earlier in the season. They don't really make a big deal about injuries. They don't talk about it a lot, but that held him back. And now he's healthy. He's been doing a good job in practice. They felt comfortable putting him in the game, and he delivered. And I think you're going to see a lot more of Colby Young after that performance the other day, Matt. And he looks to me like he can make an impact a little bit.
Yeah, my only concern, and this always is the case. So you bring in Colby Young for his real first reps of the year. Even Frank Ladson, who hadn't played that much. Those are probably your 2 guys right now who are the hottest wide receivers. And the last 2 games that Frank played and last game that Colby played, the opponent wasn't studying them, wasn't looking at how they release off the line of scrimmage, wasn't looking at the routes that they're running and how they're running them and their speed. And, it'll be really interesting to see. Because Virginia Tech and upcoming opponents are saying, listen, Miami's got no real receivers. Let's, tell them the cornerbacks, look at film of these 2 guys so you know what you're up against. Whereas they basically were total surprises over the last 2 weeks, 2 games since there was a bye in between, to the opponents. And, so it's going to be interesting to see if other teams decide, to press a long, lanky guy like that, to knock him off his route, if they can still get on their route tree. And if Van Dyke can sort of connect with them, if there is more safety help over the top, if the other team is concerned about either of these guys, which maybe they won't be, but they are big, physical, fast receivers, and I think they have a lot of potential. So, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm very encouraged by Colby. I'm very encouraged by Frank Ladson. If you told me at the beginning of the season that they were going to be your top two receivers entering a game, which I think they are entering this game, I would have said that something crazy happened. And the only crazy thing that happened is apparently coaches didn't realize how good they were from practice, and they're really good when they come into games. These are guys who don't need to practice. They just need to be in games.
All right, another thing I wanted to talk about, obviously the red zone has been a big issue, and Miami's inability to score in the red zone has been an issue the entire season. And, Josh Gaddis is stepping up and saying it's on him, and fixing it is on him. He's going to have to find more creative plays to use inside the red zone. He's going to have to get his running game somehow going again. Check this out. Miami in the Texas A&M game ran for 175 yards, and they averaged 5 yards a carry. Okay, had a very physical, great game. Henry Parrish was running phenomenal. Rooster missed some cuts here or there, but he contributed a little bit. So 175 yards rushing against an SEC defense on the road in a night game, okay? Since then, they've rushed for 102 yards on 62 carries. That's 1.65 yards a carry after averaging 5 yards against Texas A&M. Matt, this is unbelievable. You look at what happened in the red zone the other day. They couldn't score from the 1 yard line. They had 3 or 4 opportunities. That led to a 14-point swing in that game because the Tar Heels took the ball, drove down the field. They scored on a 99-yard drive, and that was a 14-point swing in a 3-point game, okay? So you look at the deep balls, you look at the red zone issues, that is where Miami is losing right now. It has blown up the entire season. And Matt, I get your high hopes. I know you feel bullish on these next few weeks and the rest of the season. And I'm not going to disagree with you because I don't. But I do understand they better get those two issues straightened out. The defensive pass defense on deep balls, and they better start being able to score some touchdowns in the red zone.
So you know how when there's a king tide, the reporters all rush down to Brickell and they film the flooded streets and the sewers backing up, and anybody in the nation who's watching some national TV show thinks, oh my gosh, Miami's underwater. Some breeze comes through and knocks a tree down during a storm in Miami, and the reporters are all, taking their live shots in front of the tree. I sort of feel like that's what the story is with the red zone, because I understand they didn't score. Everyone remembers the first and goal at the 2, and you don't score in 4 plays. Okay, I get it. I get that the run game has done nothing the last 2 games, and you can blame play calling with running too much in the red zone maybe. But like the actual red zone statistics, which I looked them up because I figured they'd be horrible, Miami is 23 for 28 in its red zone opportunities, 82%. Its opponents are 73% in the red zone. Miami has scored. How many touchdowns? They've scored 17 touchdowns out of those 23 scores, okay? 3 were missed field goals. I don't know how many of those 3 misses were in the red zone, but, I think there was 1 or 2 short ones. Well, maybe there wasn't a short one that they missed. So there's some opportunities, but it's not like a horror show in the red zone like the reporters are making it out to be whenever they interview Josh Gaddis or Mario Cristobal now. It's, reporters are trying to sort of tweak these little areas that they think they know, and they remember, oh, wait, Miami didn't score on first and goal from the 2. The red zone must be awful. But, really, it's not that bad. The real issue to me is explosive plays, which nobody's asking Gaddis or Mario about because Tyler just threw for 400,000 yards or whatever. The problem is they throw 6 passes that go 19 yards or more, so they're just moving the chains. And this is what Mario says, oh, we're moving the chains great, which they are. But when you have a 15-play drive, your chances of scoring are a little bit less than if you just throw a 99-yard touchdown. That's 100% chance when you throw a 99-yard touchdown. You're going 15 plays. Every single play you have, there's a chance of an interception. There's a chance of a fumble. There's a chance something just doesn't go right. And the longer these drives go, the worse it is for your offense. And Josh Gaddis has built his Michigan teams on long, sustained drives, and he's trying to do the same thing with a square peg that doesn't fit into a diamond hole, because I hate saying round hole, square peg. That's not for me, man. Diamond peg, round hole, whatever. It doesn't work what he's trying to do with this particular team But it's not the red zone. Okay, Gary? It's not the freaking red zone.
All right. Well, I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it. And I like
It's just pure stats. They're 82% scoring. Like, that's not terrible. Opponents are doing worse than they do in the red zone.
Okay. Well,
that's just facts.
I still say they better start scoring.
Hold your camera in front of the 20-yard line and have a tree knocked down over there and do your interviews, Gary. But like the facts are, it's not terrible. You know, could it be better? Probably, but you know, every team could say that. 82% is not the end of the world.
All right, we got a few more things to talk about today. Besides king tides, and man, did those waves and stuff that were coming in on South Beach a couple days ago were unbelievable. So I get why you brought that up. It was an interesting analogy. But first, let's hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
We here at LifeWallet take security very seriously. Our data security team is working constantly to make sure that your data is not accessed by anybody who you don't authorize.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
I have a problem with CC, and he's thinking about it, and I'll be talking to CC. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We use leading technology standards like biometric data to make sure that only you have access to your data and your identity is protected. LifeWallet gives you access to your entire medical history and information at the touch of your finger, so that it can save you time and can save your life.
Data transfer complete.
All right, Matt. We got some recruiting news today as well. We've got an update with 2024 defensive back commit Antoine Jackson. He goes into detail on his situation regarding reclassifying into this year's recruiting class and why he wants to do that. So make sure you check that out. He'll also update some of the other teams recruiting him, including Alabama. We also catch up with 2024 defensive back Desmond Ricks, who's going to be one of the top defensive backs in the country in the next cycle. He's a huge priority for the Hurricanes. He was at Hard Rock Stadium this past weekend. We check in with him on what he was saying after attending the game. We also have a story on Jaden Wayne, who weighs in with his thoughts on his Hurricanes future after also attending the UNC game. All these IMG guys came down together. It was quite a contingent that came to the North Carolina game. And the encouraging thing, Matt, to sum it all up, is that they weren't really too affected by what they saw out there. Some of them see an opportunity to come in and play early, but they seem pretty together, at least right now, in terms of following through on their commitments.
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to earlier. You know, Mario has built a great bond with these guys, and that's really how you keep a hold on commitments, plus NIL deals. And I don't see any of them really going anywhere. You know, some other schools are just calling a bunch of these kids and saying, hey, keep us in mind, keep us in mind. And of course, you don't know until signing day. You know, with this early signing day, it's so ridiculous. I really still just wish they would just make every day signing day. You know, it's in the
I agree, man.
Everybody. I don't understand why they make everyone go through these waiting periods and the stress. You know, these players would be ready to sign right now. They'd be happy to sign right now and start using Miami's facilities to work out and having access to some of that stuff once you sign. It's better for the student athletes. It's better for the programs. It's better for Matt Shodell, so he doesn't have to keep on worrying about it. That's the main thing. That's really what matters. Do it for Matt Shodell.
All right. Yeah, got to do what's good for Matt Shodell, no doubt about it. All right, so what's good for Matt Shodell is probably to end this show at this point. He's had a relatively productive day. Hasn't said anything too over the top.
I'm sure I have. Just I won't know.
Hasn't called for quality players to be sent to the bench. Isn't calling for Tyler Van Dyke's benching after a 500-yard passing day.
Benching is not letting another guy get one game of practice and one start. That's not benching.
He's kept it pretty level-headed. Yeah,
it's called vacation. He gets a 1 week vacation.
People send their starting quarterbacks on vacation so that they can experiment with the backup for a full game. Yeah, we see.
If Mario Cristobal told Tyler, listen, Tyler, we're canceling the Duke game and we're sending you to Hawaii. You're going to have no internet, no phone access for a week, and then you'll come back. He would be very happy. I would be if you told me that, Gary, I'd be very happy.
When they end up at the Sun Bowl again in El Paso, Texas, I'm going to make sure we send you to El Paso to cover that game, okay? Because they wasted time experimenting, and now they're bottom feeders in the ACC Bowl.
What's my per diem meal plan there?
$5 a day. You can only.
Oh, that's great.
All they have there is McDonald's anyway. But oh shoot! I hope we don't have any subscribers from El Paso. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Good job.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So that's going to do it for today. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for starting your day with us, and we will see you tomorrow, everybody.